Martha always followed the right decluttering rules, until one day, an old closet left her more drained than relieved. The boxes, the labels, the guilt, it wasn't helping anymore. Sound familiar? If you've ever felt that the old methods just don't fit your life after 70, you're not alone. Today we'll explore 9 common decluttering rules that may be doing more harm than good, and what to do instead. Let's begin with the first, and the unexpected weight it still carries. 1. Keep it, you might need it someday. Martha stood in her guest room, hands on her hips, staring at a fabric-covered box labeled backup bedding. Inside, extra pillowcases from the 80s, a set of twin sheets she hadn't used since her boys left for college, and a thick wool blanket from her mother's old home. Not one item had been touched in over a decade, yet, as she reached for the box, a thought stopped her cold. What if I need these one day? Here's the truth. That voice, the one that whispers you might need it, was once protective. It helped you stretch a budget, keep a household running smoothly, and prepare for surprises. But after 70, it quietly becomes something else. It's not about utility anymore. It's about fear. Fear of waste, fear of change, fear of regret. Let's flip that. Instead of asking, what if I need it someday? Ask, is this serving me today? Because today matters more than maybe. That backup bedding? Martha donated it to a shelter nearby, and with that decision came a deep exhale, the kind that makes your chest feel just a little lighter. Letting go isn't wasteful, it's wise. It makes space for clarity, breathing room, and even joy. Here's a gentle practice. If you haven't used it in 5 years, and it isn't tied to a meaningful memory, it's safe to say goodbye. Trust that what you truly need, comfort, peace, security, is already within reach, not in a box. 2. Declutter one room at a time. This rule sounds logical, right? Clear one room, then move on. Martha tried that once with her kitchen. 4 hours in, surrounded by casserole dishes, souvenir mugs, and half-used spice tins, she felt like she was sinking in quicksand. By the end of the day, nothing was finished, just moved. The problem with the one room at a time rule is that it assumes you'll have the energy to finish, and the emotional strength to face a room's worth of memories in one sitting. For many women after 70, that's just not realistic. Our energy works in smaller, more meaningful bursts, and our memories, they deserve time and kindness. So Martha switched it up. She chose one drawer at a time. That single silverware drawer became her daily win. She didn't just toss things, she told stories to herself as she sorted. A chipped teaspoon from her first apartment, a serving spoon from her wedding registry. By going small, she didn't feel defeated, she felt in control. Here's a new rhythm. Set a 15-minute timer. Pick a drawer, a shelf, or even a single box. When the timer's done, so are you. Then treat yourself. A cup of tea, a stretch, a smile. Decluttering isn't a sprint, it's a kindness you give yourself over time. 3. If it's not broken, Don said, toss it. Why throw it away? It still works. It's a sentence Martha said more times than she could count. A hand mixer that sounded like it would take flight. A lamp with a wonky switch. Even a plastic dish rack with one broken leg, balanced cleverly with a stack of coasters. These things weren't broken in the traditional sense, but they weren't serving her well, either. This rule worked in its day, when money was tight and replacements were hard to come by, when fixing something gave you pride. But today, what's at stake isn't just space, it's your comfort, your safety, your peace of mind. Here's what Martha did. She walked around her home with fresh eyes, pretending she was preparing it for a beloved guest. Would she ask her friend to use the squeaky recliner? Would she serve tea from the stained mugs with cracked handles? Suddenly, working wasn't the only metric that mattered. Here's a reframe. If it frustrates you, tires you, or makes you work harder, it's broken enough. And the emotional piece, letting go of these items, can bring relief. It's about saying, I deserve ease now, not just function. Ease. Martha let go of the old dish rack, replaced it with one that sparkled and stood steady. Every time she used it, she smiled. Not because it was perfect, but because it was right for her now. We're not just talking about objects. We're talking about releasing old pressure, old expectations, and old habits that no longer match the rhythm of our lives. Which of these old rules have you followed for years, and how do you feel about them now? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what's changing in your home and your heart. 4. Save it for the grandkids. It started with a single rocking horse, worn oak, blue saddle. Martha had saved it for years, imagining tiny hands riding it like her boys once had. But at her last birthday, her son gently said, "Mom, we won't have room for anything extra when we move." It wasn't rude, just real. For many women after 70, this rule, save it for the grandkids, carries a quiet ache. It's not just about stuff. It's about legacy, memory, presence. But here's what Martha realized. Passing things down only works if they're wanted, useful, or meaningful to the next person. She invited her grandchildren over one afternoon, laid out a table with small treasures, photo frames, books, even her old jewelry box, and instead of saving it all, she offered it, openly, joyfully. Some things sparked curiosity. A few pieces were taken with love, others, left behind. And that was okay. She wasn't rejected. She was released. Try this gentle shift. Instead of holding on to things in secret hope, turn it into a celebration. Host a memory afternoon. Share the story behind each item. Then let your loved ones choose, if they want, and if they don't, bless the item, and pass it on. You're not less generous for letting go. You're more present. 5. You should be able to do it alone. Martha had always been independent. From raising 2 boys while managing night school to fixing her own leaky faucets. She was proud of her strength. So when she started decluttering, she didn't tell anyone. But one morning, she tried lifting an old sewing machine from the hallway closet. It slipped, just a few inches, but her back tensed, and she sat on the floor, blinking back tears, not from pain but frustration. We've been told, time and again, that needing help is weakness. But that's a lie from a different chapter. At this age, asking for help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. After that morning, Martha called her niece. "I'm doing a little home project. Would love some company." They laughed, sorted, and told stories for hours. Here's the emotional truth. Decluttering brings up more than dust. It brings memories, decisions, and sometimes grief. Having someone nearby isn't just about lifting boxes, it's about lifting hearts. Try this approach. Make a list of 5 small tasks, then invite a friend, a grandchild, or even a neighbor to join you for one. Call it a tea and tidy visit, and if you don't have anyone nearby, consider posting on a local community board. There are students, neighbors, even church volunteers who'd be honored to help. You are not alone, you never have to be. 6. Sort everything into keep, toss, and donate piles. The classic triage system. It looks so simple on paper, doesn't it? 3 piles, 1 decision per item, done and dusted. But let's be honest, real life isn't that neat. Martha tried this in her den. Within 10 minutes, her keep pile was too large, the toss pile had nothing, and the donate pile had things she kept revisiting, unsure. Here's the problem with rigid piles. They don't leave space for feelings. Some items need a pause, a moment, a second thought. And that's okay. So Martha invented a 4th pile. She called it not ready. That single change took the pressure off. It gave her room to feel without guilt. She found that, after a few weeks, items in the not ready pile either lost their hold or clarified their purpose. She ended up letting go of most. But in her own time. Here's your step-by-step refresh. Keep, donate, discard, not ready label. A box not ready, and set a gentle date, maybe 30 days later. Let it sit quietly. You'll be amazed at how your heart shifts when you remove pressure from the process. Decluttering isn't just about making decisions. It's about creating emotional breathing room. We've all carried these rules with pride. Some of them served us well. Others have quietly overstayed their welcome. The beauty of this season is that you get to write new rules. ones that feel softer, wiser, and more true to who you are now. Have you ever saved something just in case, or avoided asking for help, even when you needed it? Tell us in the comments. Your story might be exactly what another woman needs to hear today. 7. Decluttering should be done quickly. It's funny, isn't it? Somewhere along the way, we picked up this idea that decluttering should be swift, done in a weekend, or knocked out in a 30-day challenge. Maybe it worked in our 40s or 50s when we had the stamina of full calendars and fast weekends. But now, in this season of life, fast doesn't always mean better. For Martha, speed became a silent thief. She remembered one Saturday morning trying to knock out the pantry. What began as a quick project turned into emotional chaos. Each jar, each outdated spice, carried a memory of holiday dinners, of raising boys on a shoestring budget, of learning to cook again after her husband passed. There were no neat time slots for those kinds of memories, so she changed the pace. Instead of rushing, she gave herself permission to slow down. She treated decluttering like a conversation with her home. Soft, reflective, honest. She didn't need a timer. She needed trust in herself, in her instincts, and in her rhythm. Here's the better truth. Fast doesn't always equal effective, especially when we're dealing with things tied to our stories. You're not behind. You're right on time. Try this. Replace the deadline with a ritual. Choose a soft morning. Put on music that feels gentle. Light a candle if you like. Then open one cabinet. Just one. Sit with it. See what it brings up. Let yourself linger. Because when we slow down, we don't just clear space, we clear emotional weight too. And that kind of release, it stays with you longer than any checklist ever could. 8. Sort everything at once. Finish the job. There's a myth that's quietly exhausting, that you have to start and finish the whole decluttering job in one go. That once you pull things out, you have to finish sorting them right then and there. Martha believed this one deeply. So much so that she once emptied an entire dresser's contents onto her bed, certain she'd be done by dinner time. But life as it does interrupted. Her sister called, her hip acted up, the sun slipped down, and suddenly she was sleeping on the couch, overwhelmed, sore, and surrounded by piles of almost. This rule, this you must finish what you started mindset, can feel like pressure disguised as pride. But here's the thing. Finishing everything at once isn't the only kind of success, especially after 70. Your energy works differently. It's not about powering through, it's about honoring your pace. So Martha made a new rule. Leave things in a contained zone. One surface, one drawer, one tray. If she ran out of energy, she could return later. No shame, no rush. And the surprising part, she enjoyed it more. Her choices were calmer, her body didn't ache. Her heart felt clear. Here's your step-by-step. Choose one small area. Set up a parking spot for what's undecided. Give yourself the freedom to return when it feels right. You're not failing if you pause. You're pacing. And pacing is wisdom in motion. 9. Only keep what sparks joy. Ah yes, this one might sound familiar. It's a popular phrase, and for many people it does help. But for Martha, it didn't always sit quite right. Because not everything in her home sparked joy. Some things sparked grief. Some sparked gratitude. Some just were. Like her husband's old army jacket. It didn't make her smile, but it made her feel something else connected. This rule, while catchy, can become confusing. Especially for women who've lived rich, layered lives. Our belongings carry depth, complexity, memory. So instead of asking, does this spark joy? Martha began asking, does this support the life I want to live now? A small shift, a huge difference. That wedding dish set she never used? Beautiful but impractical. She passed it on to her niece, who hosted family dinners often. Her knitting basket, though, that stayed, not because it was useful every day, but because it reminded her of stillness, of evenings by the window, of feeling peaceful in her own rhythm. Try this shift. When you hold something, ask yourself, does it comfort me? Does it make my life easier? Does it reflect who I am now? Let go of the pressure to feel joy in everything. Allow space for other emotions. Soft ones, sad ones, quiet ones. All of them valid. You deserve a home that holds space for the full you, not just the smiling parts. Every rule we've explored so far started from a good place. But life after 70 is about returning to your place. Not the one shaped by trends or tidy TV shows, but the one that fits your values, your energy, and your heart. Have you ever felt stuck trying to do it all at once, or unsure if something really brought you joy? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to know how you're shaping new rules for a more peaceful home. 10. Decluttering is a one-time job. There's a comforting finality in this idea, isn't there? That one day you'll just be done, you'll roll up your sleeves, do the work, and voila, your home will be exactly as you want it forever. Martha used to think that way too. After her big summer clear-out, she sat back, proud. Everything had a place. But seasons changed, life shifted. A few gifts came in, paper piles reappeared, and she started to feel like she'd failed. But she hadn't failed. She just believed the myth that decluttering was a destination, not a rhythm. Here's the truth. Decluttering isn't a one-time project. It's a gentle lifestyle, and that's not bad news. It's freeing, because once you release the pressure to get it perfect, you can move through your home with ease. Martha now does a weekly light touch, 10 minutes here, a shelf there. She doesn't wait for chaos. She simply listens to her space. Try this approach. Create a soft check ritual, maybe every Sunday afternoon. Look around, ask what's feeling heavy, what's out of place, what can I let go of today? No drama, no overhauls, just small, regular kindnesses to your space. Why does this matter emotionally? Because it replaces pressure with permission. It honors your evolving needs. It reminds you that your home isn't a museum. It's a living, breathing reflection of you. 11. If it's expensive, you should keep it. Martha had a handbag that cost more than she liked to admit. A retirement splurge, luxurious leather, satin lining, and still tags on. She never used it. Too formal, too stiff, too not her. But every time she thought about letting it go, her stomach turned. It was expensive. That fact alone seemed to anchor it in place. This is a rule that clings with guilt. The more we paid for something, the more it feels like we owe it a place in our lives, even if it doesn't serve us anymore. But here's the truth. The money's already spent. Keeping it doesn't bring it back. What it can do, though, is weigh you down, physically, emotionally, and mentally. So Martha made peace with it. She sold the bag online to a younger woman who squealed when it arrived, and with the money, she bought herself a lightweight garden stool, and used it that same week. Here's a powerful question to ask. If I didn't already own this, would I buy it today? If the answer is no, then you've already outgrown it. Try this step by step. Identify 1, 2 high-cost items you never use. Ask yourself why they're still here. Fear, guilt, pride. Then find them a new home, whether through sale, donation, or gifting. Emotionally, this step is about reclaiming your value, not through price tags, but through usefulness, joy, and comfort. And that, dear friend, is a luxury all its own. 12. It's such wasteful to throw things away. This one? It's deep-rooted. For women raised in times when frugality was survival, the idea of waste carries more than just practical weight. It carries moral weight. Martha remembers washing out yogurt containers to reuse them. She once mended the same pair of slippers 3 times, and honestly, that mindset served her. It taught her to care, to stretch, to make do. But over time, the recycling bin turned into a storage bin. Empty tins, saved ribbon, glass jars for later, until later became never. The cupboards filled, but not with things that gave life. So she had to ask herself, is this about being resourceful, or about holding on to old rules out of habit? Letting go isn't wasteful when the item's true purpose is over. In fact, freeing space is a kind of reuse, reclaiming your home for rest, joy, movement. Try this emotional shift. If something still has use, donate it with intention. If it doesn't, thank it, then release it. A simple phrase Martha used: "You've served your time, I'm grateful, and I'm moving on." And that phrase, though whispered to a stack of boxes, felt like a balm. We're not throwing away value, we're clearing space for what still matters. So often these old rules were born out of love, out of care, out of protection. But what protected us once can quietly become what weighs us down. And you, in this chapter of life, deserve a space that doesn't just hold your history, it supports your present and welcomes your future. Have you ever held on to something just because it was expensive or still useful? We'd love to hear what you've decided to release and how it made you feel. Share your story in the comments. 13. It's selfish to focus on your own space. This one crept up on Martha slowly. As a mother, wife, and teacher, her life had always revolved around others, their needs, their comfort, their messes even. So when she finally had the house to herself, she kept finding reasons to avoid making it hers. She didn't change the guest room even though no one had stayed in it for years. She didn't clear out the kitchen drawers labeled with names of family members who hadn't cooked in that home in over a decade, because part of her believed this unspoken rule: it's selfish to focus on your own space. But here's the tender truth: your space is an extension of your soul. It reflects how much you value yourself, and valuing yourself isn't selfish, it's vital. One evening, Martha stood in the hallway holding a quilt. It had belonged to her daughter. It was beautiful but unused, folded neatly for someday. And in that moment Martha realized she was still decorating around everyone else's life except her own. So she gently folded that quilt and tucked it into a memory chest. Then she bought herself a soft throw in her favorite teal blue, and placed it right on the arm of her chair. Small act, big shift. Try this: walk through your home, find one spot that doesn't quite feel like you. Change something: a pillow, a frame, a lamp, make it yours. And remember, a home that supports your peace gives more joy to everyone who enters. 14. If it has a memory, you must keep it. Martha once kept a chipped candy dish tucked at the back of her cabinet, not because she liked it, but because her mother had loved it. Every time she saw it, she felt torn. Sweetness from the memory, sadness from the chip, guilt from not using it. So she kept it, out of duty, not desire. This is a common emotional trap, believing that we must keep a thing in order to keep the memory. But memory doesn't live in objects, it lives in us. One rainy afternoon, Martha sat with that candy dish and a cup of tea. She held it, thanked it, and snapped a photo. Then, for the first time in 20 years, she let it go. Not to a shelf, to someone who might love it again. Here's a gentle exercise. Choose one sentimental item. Write down the memory it holds. Take a photo if you like. Then ask yourself, do I need the object, or just the memory? Letting go of the dish didn't erase her mother's laugh, or the scent of cinnamon that used to fill their kitchen. It just made space for the present. You are the keeper of memory. You always were. 15. Once you start letting go, it never ends. This one sounds more like a warning than a rule. It plays on fear. The fear that if you start letting go, you'll lose everything. That one decision will lead to another, and soon there will be nothing left. Just empty shelves and echoing rooms. But Martha discovered something else entirely. The more she let go, the more full her space felt. Not with stuff, but with stillness, with breath, with peace. Letting go didn't erase her life. It made room for new life. The version of her that stretches in the morning, that plays music while she cooks, that reads without guilt from that corner chair. Try this reframing. Letting go is not a loss. It's a gift to your future self. Start with one item that feels slightly out of season with who you are now. Release it. Watch how your space responds. Then let the momentum be gentle, not a race, a rhythm, because contrary to that fearful voice, letting go doesn't empty your life. It honors it, and what remains becomes even more meaningful. These last 3 rules may have seemed protective at one point, but now, you don't need protection from your own life. You deserve ease, beauty, and intention. You deserve a home that mirrors the woman you've become, not the roles you once had to play. Have you ever felt torn between honoring a memory and honoring your present life? Let us know in the comments. Your voice might be the very thing someone else needs to hear today. So who knew freedom could come from ditching a backup toaster and a yoga mat you never unrolled? Life after 60 isn't about holding on tighter, it's about living lighter. If any of these hit home, drop your aha moment in the comments. Let's declutter and high-five each other on the way out.